Oh, great. It won't let me share my Chrome window. Jesus. I'm just gonna share my screen then. If I happen to dox myself, we'll just destroy the evidence.
Spoiler: Brain lives on Earth.
Oh, there is chat. Yes, there is chat. There is chat. Um, all right. So I guess the first thing um, I should mention is if you want to do any sort of merging, um, in Stable Diffusion, you should probably get the Super Merger extension. I think both of you have it. Um, Stable Diffusion, I think, has an option by default. I forgot. Yeah, I think it's this one, Models, that allows you to merge, but it's not as granular, I guess, as the Super Merger one. So that's the one you want to get. I'm not going to teach you how to install that. You can figure that out on your own. The link for this Super Merger extension is in the channel for this tutorial. There's a I created a thread in the tutorial channel for merging checkpoints. So the link is in there. Once you got this thing installed, you will have this Super Merger tab, and it has a lot of options. But before going over all of this, I figured without going into too much detail, just sort of go over what is a checkpoint. Like there's, it's kind of a, I don't know, unclear. It's kind of unclear what a checkpoint is. Like when you do Stable Diffusion, you have your prompt. It goes into the checkpoint, and a picture comes out, right? But what's the checkpoint? It's a few parts, and I just put the most important in here. We got the text encoder, what we call clip, and then we got the UNet, and then we got the VAE. And basically, all of this is what transforms the text into an actual picture. And when we merge checkpoints, um, at least from what I was just looking at the code before starting this, from my understanding, we're only really touching the UNet. So when we are merging checkpoints, um, my understanding is that the text encoder and the VAE, if there's one, comes from the first checkpoint. So when I say the first checkpoint is, you want to merge things, uh, model A, model B, model C, and when I say the first checkpoint, I mean the model A, sort of the base of your merge. Um, yes. So you're gonna keep those two, but the UNet is the part that will be merged. And the UNet is where sort of the black magic happens, and it's really hard to explain, and I'm not even gonna attempt to try to explain it. But there is something you should know about the UNet. And well, first it's called UNet, and as you can see, the shape is a U. Mind blowing, right? So the thing about this is, as you can see, I hope you can see kind of clearly, but you've got all these layers, right? And you can see that the first layer goes into the next and into the next, and then it goes into the next block, and it keeps going down like this. And then that's your input. Then you have um, down here, sorry, down here, this is the middle, and from there it's the output, right? And that's really important to understand. And props to the creator of this extension. He actually displayed this UI in the shape of a U. I think that's in a recent update. And the reason why this is important is because let's say you want to modify a certain block. Let's say you want to modify this one, this 256 over here. If you modify this, everything afterwards will be impacted. So if you want to merge models granularly like this, and you say I want to change this block here out 10, whatever you change after will be affected. But if you go back and change this, for example, whatever value you put here is after that. So it will be sort of meaningless. Whatever you had there is not what it used to be. Jesus, I have no idea how to explain this, but everything has some sort of a domino effect. So you usually want to start from the first block and adjust all the way down. You shouldn't go back, because whatever, if you go back, then things starts to get messy, and you're basically rolling a dice at that point. It's pretty much random. Better just start from zero and go down. Now I share my screen, so I guess you guys see my notes. See how organized I am. What happens when you mix checkpoints? What gets merged? We talked about that. That's the UNet. Super extension link. Oh yeah, how do you know you have the latest version as of today? Because I know both of you have the extension installed, but to make sure you have the latest one, I mean, you can see in the extension, but if you have this let the dice roll uh, part here, that's in the latest. It's a new feature. I will go over it a bit later, but it essentially lets you do the random stuff that I know Jay likes to do. Um, so you'd be able to sort of make random merges automatically with this thing. Um, Next point, MBW versus non-MBW. So you got a checkbox here called MBW, and when you check this, you're basically telling the extension that you want to make I would call it a granular merge, where you have control over each blocks. If you don't check this MBW checkbox, this is the only slider that you will use. And what this does is essentially whatever value that is here is going to be applied to every block of the unit. So if you set here, I don't know, 75, it's going to be 75 across all the blocks of the unit. 75, then here it would be 75 everywhere. You know what I mean? Hopefully that's clear. So it's really, how can I say it's a merge, but it's a very plain merge where you don't have fine control over every layer. So usually, at least for the purpose of today's um, tutorial, we're definitely gonna use this thing. So let's get started, I guess. To be able to visualize changes, just for the sake of this tutorial today, I'm gonna pick two checkpoints that are very, very different. So I got Juggernaut here, which is a very realistic model, photo realistic model. And I'm gonna pick Yes Mix, which is an anime model. So we're at both extreme ends of the spectrum, I guess. And so for today's purpose, I think I'm just going to keep things simple here in terms of merge mode and calculation mode. So leave those at the default, but you should know that calculation mode will give you different results, but also will take different, it might take more time or less time resources to make merges. I've experimented with this before, and sometimes like just merging two checkpoints takes like 20 minutes. So for now, let's just keep it normal uh, and the default uh, settings there. We're not going to touch anything else over here, but in this latest version, you have to put the generation parameters in here. So it used to take the params from the text to image tab, but now you have to type it here. So let's start with something very simple. Masterpiece, I don't know, best quality, and we're gonna say a portrait of a gorgeous black woman wearing a tribal dress. And negative, we're just gonna put worst quality, bad quality, low quality, good old stable diffusion 1.5, poor quality, deformed, and just for the sake of this, I'm gonna put the nudity and unsafe for work. Gonna use Euler A just because I want this to be as fast as possible. And I'm gonna leave this at 768 by 768 just so that we can see the details a bit better. So we're good with this. I'm just gonna minimize it. And now we're going to the interesting stuff, I guess. This is where I would strongly recommend to make a grid. Um, there's this option in the normal text to image as well. Um, the XYZ thing. So for this example, I'm going to change the X to MBW alpha. Now, sounds like it means nothing, but here we check the MBW checkbox, and the alpha is how much of model B do you want inside model A. And here I'm going to be putting some values for each of those blocks, right? So I think a good way to start is just to sort of show you what happens with all zeros and all ones and right in the middle, if you will. So I'm just going to copy these values, put them there, let that run. And while that runs, I can probably answer some questions if you guys have some. So just to explain what I'm doing here before I start the generation, what I'm doing here is I'm generating a grid, a bit like this. And the first image is all zero, meaning all model A. And the second image I'm creating is a flat 50-50 merge. So it's going to be 50% model A, 50% model B. And the last one I'm doing is completely one, meaning completely 100% model B, which is the anime model. So if I did everything right, the first picture is going to be a photorealistic picture. The second one is going to be half and half. We're expecting some sort of mix between anime and photorealistic. And the last one should be a full anime picture. So I'm just going to hit the sequential XY merge and generation button. It's going to take a bit of time. And while that runs, I can answer some questions, I guess, or we can just all wait together and sip on coffee. Can you super merge without using text to image first? Or should you run your model through text to image that will go into model A and then super merge? You don't need to touch text to image at all. There's no point to go there yet. I will go over this point a bit later on. There is a point where going to text to image is kind of a worth your time. Worth your time, yes. So our merge is done. So as expected, we got a photorealistic picture at first, and then we got sort of a mix, and then in the end we have a full, anime picture. And I guess, you could end it there, but usually you're sort of looking for something between your your merges, right? Like when you want to merge a checkpoint, usually you sort of know what you want from each of those. and that's where the game starts in a way. Is this so you can see what is being weighted between the two? Yeah, I guess I like personally to start like this, just to sort of see, yeah, what's the just a flat mix between the two looks like, and then sort of go from there. Because sometimes for some reason some checkpoints just don't merge well at a flat uh in a flat, I don't know how to say, structure, where all the blocks have the same weight. Um, so now what we're gonna do is the interesting part where we start moving um, variables. I don't know how to call them, but those weights, I guess. So right now I have 4 lines and they're all zeros, so all model A. And what I'm gonna do is change the first one. I mean, the first line, I'm gonna leave it as it is, just model A. The second line, I'm gonna change the first block to 1. The next picture, I'm gonna change the second block to 1, and then I'm gonna put both of them as 1, just so that you can see what I was talking about earlier, where changing a block sort of have a domino effect. So hopefully we can visualize that. I'm not sure if it's gonna work out, but we'll we'll find out, I guess. And I don't know. I guess it's important to mention, but like I don't touch the first number always, right? Because that is not like officially part of the unit. It's called the base in the super merger extension. And basically what I'm saying here is the first number is model A. So I'm using model A as a base. I'm not 100% sure how much of an impact changing it to 1 has, because your model A is still Juggernaut. So anyways, I wouldn't really mess around with the first number unless you're really into, mad scientist mode and you're caffeinated for the whole night. But uh, just for today, I'm going to leave those at 0 the whole time. For now, I'm going to run this and try to see if I answered your question, because I'm not sure I did. Did that make sense, Kiwi? Awesome.
Now, for the XY script,
Yeah.
so does it stick with the same seed, or is that variable, and is there a way to change that?
That's a good question. Actually, it keeps the same seed, and especially for this step, I like to, have a y-axis as well, and then use a different seed. But if you don't specify it, it's all going to use the same one. Uh, Here in the y, you could pick seed, and the cool thing about this is you can also put the -1 as well. So it does just like the normal in text to image. It's going to create a random seed for this. And I guess, in case any of you want to mess around uh, more in depth with the XY thing, you should know that X is the first axis that's rendered. So the reason I'm saying this is right now my x-axis is these 4 merges, right? And it's going to create those 4, and then it's going to create another seed, and then merge those 4 again and again and again. So in this case, I would actually swap the x and y, just so that you only make 4 merges, not 16. Does that make sense? Because the x-axis gets processed first. I know it's late for you guys. I don't know if it makes sense what I said.
So I get some of it, and I am seeing some of that effect you were talking about with the unit in that example up there, how it went
Oh
back
yeah,
to. Yeah, I'm seeing it.
yeah, right. So fully model A, and then we modified the first block, modified only the second block, and then we added we put both of them at one, and you can clearly see that the previous one sort of came back in here.
Now, is that's not like to say anything bad about that because there is a different there's a different result. And if that works out, that works out. You know.
Right. But if you went at it backwards, I'm not so sure it would be as coherent, I guess I would say. I feel like we got lucky here.
So
Um,
would there be a huge difference for say more randomized numbers and smaller numbers in each block versus straight 1 or 0? That's when it might start showing a coherent difference.
that's a good point actually. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. If you start playing with bigger numbers, bigger gaps, it'll be more obvious, I guess. Um, yeah. Can we have an example? Like big gaps? Like um let me think. I guess uh I don't like this UI, man. I'm scrolling too far all the time. Okay, I guess I'm just gonna put it by hand here. So I guess what I could do is probably like add a one here, add a one here, and maybe add a one here, something like that. I don't want to make, I don't want to change too many numbers. Uh, wait a second. I need to keep, and I guess, Jesus Christ, I'm so retarded. I have no idea what I'm doing. 1110101. Uh, sorry guys, I'm just counting here. Right. Then we go back here. For example, we leave a 0 and maybe here 0, 1. Then I'm gonna put the 1 in here. All right, I guess hopefully we see a bigger difference here. Hello. Ah, I just remembered I left the seed there, and that's why it's taking so long. Hello. So yeah, Jay, I don't know if you understood that part earlier where I said that the x-axis gets processed first. So now for each seed, it's making the merge. So instead of creating the merge 4 times now, I'm basically doing it 16 times. I should have swapped the X and Y here. So instead of looking at the changes horizontally, I would have to check them vertically, but it would be 4 times faster to make this grid. Now I'm just wasting time here.
That was my master plan all along.
Almost there. So Katie, have you dabbled with supermerger whatsoever at all? All good. It's exploration for me too. Actually, I have, how can I say? I have an idea of what I'm doing, but at the same time, I have no idea what I'm doing here. It's just exploring, just like prompting. All right, let's see how this one went. So we kept that like last weight there is the same across the board, but there is some changes in the previous ones. And I guess, you know what? I just realized I should have added another one, maybe. I'm just thinking here. As I said, I have no idea what I'm doing. But yeah, I guess, the changes are not as big as I expected, probably because um, it's still too flat in a way. Is the screen froze? Is it froze?
We are experiencing some technical difficulties.
Yeah, I just disappeared. I don't know what happened. Uh, oh, nice. I can share this now. Can you guys see now? Am I still back? Yeah. Um, yeah, I guess the reason why the changes are not so obvious is because the image is still a bit too flat. Perhaps it would be fine-tuning this thing to what you want. I'm pretty sure, if all those weights were somewhat customized, and then you would go back, modify a previous one, then all the subsequent weights would be affected. But like it's kind of all right. See ya, Katie. Um, what I wanted to say is that let's say you would change a previous variable, like you customize this whole thing, it's crazy numbers everywhere, and you decide to go back and modify a previous weight. Obviously, the change you would make, sorry, the change you would make would have, how can I say, the impact would be, what's the word, per, uh, proportional to the changes you made to your weight. So if you increase, you go back, you increase a certain weight by 0.01. Obviously, the changes on the rest of the chain will be minimal. But if you changed it by like 0.5, then the whole chain will be way more affected, I think. Jesus Christ. I'm having some trouble here. So, yeah. I guess maybe we could try something. Um, I don't want to take too long. I know it's late for you guys. But there's this new thing, let the dice roll. And what that does is essentially um, put random numbers between 0 and 1 if you use R here, and it's going to run a it's just going to you know run special weights, random weights across the whole thing, across the whole unit. And I think you can actually use those in here. Like I can probably put an R in here, I think. So perhaps you sort of figured out, like the way I usually work is I usually end up here with about like 8 or 9 uh weights like this, like lines of weights, and I'm fighting with 1 or 2 blocks, and using R like this would probably be a good idea for those cases. Swap X and Y is what I wanted to do. Or is this the one? No, this thing. I don't want to make 16 merges. I swear I'm done soon, guys. Yeah, weekly class with Brain would be great if I had ideas, materials, a 4090, infinite coffee. Yeah, Jay can teach some stuff too. I mean, it doesn't have to always be this technical. Well, I think it would be nice. Like people have questions all the time, and I'm not, I wouldn't be able to, start a YouTube channel and post there regularly. It's easier for me to just set a time in here and meet with you guys and sort of come up with stuff on the spot. It can be even more technical. Yeah, it can be even more technical. We can dive in deep, dive in deep. Comfy spaghetti. Yeah, actually, that's not a bad idea. I like the sound of that. So yeah, you guys cannot see the console anymore because I'm just sharing my browser, but I can see that the R is definitely working. So it's putting some random numbers in there, which is great, really. I really think that sort of changes the whole game. Like back when we made Brixel, Jay and I, we had to manually punch those numbers in and mess around. I mean, Jay got lucky, but that R thing is really game changing. Yeah, it's confusing, right? But I really think GPT Chan, yes. I really think that the key especially like both of you, you have a very good artistic sense. It just makes sense to go down the unit one by one and adjust the way you like it. It's a long process, but in the end, that's how you end up with a great checkpoint. Kiwi Dixel. Wow, that's quite the name. Kiwi Dixel. There's something that doesn't sound right about Dixel. Yeah, Brixel is good. I don't know. Dixel just sounds wrong. Oh yeah, you're gonna make this real nice. 4 to 16. What? What's taking so long? What have I done? Wait, did they change the? I think they might have changed the way it processes the grid. It used to be X first and then Y, but now it seems to do the opposite, which is taking a lot more time. But it made more sense anyways to process uh, the other way around. Jesus Christ, I have no idea what I'm saying. But anyways, it didn't make sense, so I switched it the way it was handled before. But now they fixed it, so I fucked things up. This is gonna take a while. I'm sorry, but maybe while this is generating, I can probably go over just a few other settings, or at least like some info. Once you punched all your numbers and you like a specific one, you got to put those numbers in the box down here. This box is what's going to be used when you actually press the merge button. So it doesn't matter what you have in here, because ultimately when you create your merge, this box is sort of the master box. That's where all the power comes from. So you put your numbers in here and then you press merge and it's going to create your merge. But unless you press the save model button, it's not going to save your model. You definitely want to keep save tensors checked, because it's a safe um, file extension, file format. People won't allow it. I think Civit started preventing people to upload anything else than safe tensors actually. One thing that's important, maybe depending what kind of person you are, is save metadata. When you save metadata, you're basically saving the recipe. So what model was model A, what model was model B, what were the weights you used, and all of that will be embedded into your checkpoint. So if you want to come back to it in the future or try a different merge but use the same recipe but you forgot, you would be able to read the metadata from that checkpoint and use that. And I would check FP16 too, actually. Some people don't like that, but I don't know. I prefer that. um, Man, I've been doing this for so long, I forgot. Oh, we were using the R, and it doesn't even show the actual value in the grid. That sucks. How am I supposed to show you guys anything? I mean, the value is written in the console, but there's no like easy way to show it to you guys. So this grid is basically useless. Thank you for your time. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. See you next time, next week. um, yeah, too bad. It sucks. But anyways, I want to go back to a question that Kiwi had earlier because you do all this hard work. You spend like hours finding the right weights, and then you put them here. You press merge or merge and gen, but sometimes you just want to sort of try more things like this generation thing. I don't know why they changed it, but basically you don't have much control over here, right? You cannot use LoRa's, you cannot use uh, uh, negative embeddings and whatnot. So what you should know is that when you click merge, this checkpoint gets loaded into your memory. And if you go back to the text tab and start filling stuff in here and maybe even use some styles, then you'd be able to, use the model you just merged without actually saving it to the disk and try things and have more control. Maybe you want to use control net or whatever, really sort of battle test your checkpoint before saving it. And, once you're happy with the test you've done there, you can actually check that same model thing and merge it. Um, Obviously, the name is important. If you put nothing, like they say optional, the extension is going to create a random name from this, and it's going to be long and ugly. So just come up with a cool name, put it in there. Why does Brain have so cooler stuff than me? I got nothing. I don't know. uh it's not as cool as you think. And Bacon VAE, I don't recommend this. Like people used to do that. People used to have less knowledge about VAEs, but nowadays everybody has like 10 VAEs in their toolbox, so I wouldn't recommend. You don't have all those extra stuff. Oh yeah, I got a fancy stable diffusion thing. Yeah. But overall, I think that's it. That's pretty good. What's important is just you mess around with the weights. It's gonna give you way more finer control. At some point you might notice that wait, this specific slider really makes the skin better, or this one the eyes are bigger. Like you will find those things as you play with the weights. So it's really worth trying it out. And maybe one day when I understand all of this stuff a bit better, we can go over making a three-way merge. One thing, uh, are we messing with the sliders or sequential merge parameters? It all really depends the way you want to work. If you work with the sliders here, like changing the slider actually does nothing on its own. It shows you the number, but really it does nothing until you do set to alpha. And what this button does is transfer the values of the sliders into this thing, which is the master box, as I said before, right? And you can do the opposite as well. You could take this thing here. I'm going to paste it in there, and then read from alpha. And now the sliders will use the values that I have in here. Um, the way I see it is, uh, you probably don't need to use the sliders. It depends what kind of person you are, really. But Kiwi, I think, like you personally, you probably want to mess around with this more. Create a grid, adjust a certain block bit by bit, move on. Uh, Playing with sliders, even I don't know about like on your PC, but the sliders feel a bit glitchy to me. Like it's not smooth. It doesn't work so well. Um, but it does allow you to have a bit more like granularity with the arrows and stuff. But I don't know. It's up to you really. But this is gonna be your best friend over here. Make sure you pick MBW alpha, right? Not just alpha, because alpha does not use the UNet like individual blocks. So keep that in mind. I guess that's it really. Like unless you guys have questions, I can't come up with anything else. This is our how this is as far as my
Can we talk a little bit about the presets?
oh yeah, I think that's worth mentioning actually. Yeah. Um down here in the unit section there's weights presets. Now it changed the whole thing, right? Um so there's already a bunch of presets made by people who know what they're talking about, unlike me. Um so these presets tend to have some good results and they can be a good starting point. So what I usually do actually is pick some of those and just slap them into this place here and sort of try that as a starting point and then move from there. I compare what works, what doesn't. Um, what you'll notice is that a lot of the presets have like specific part of the unit that they affect, and you will clearly see at some point that oh, on this checkpoint this block this does this and does that, and you you'll get used to it. And I noticed that they added at the end of the presets the random stuff. Um, in the GitHub page I shared in the channel, there's some uh, more details about what those are, the RUX and all that stuff. Um, yeah, but there isn't much else to say really. There's presets and they're good. You should try them. It's a good starting point. That's all I can think about really.
I've found that the presets are a good first stop for kind of just playing around.
Yeah, yeah,
When you want to see kind of what a half decent merge between two models would be, but you don't want to go just a straight 50. You want to kind of see what, like you said, I like how you put it, where these presets were made by people who know what the heck they're doing.
yeah,
And so having that well thought out, well tested set of parameters as the initial mix give you a better idea of what you got to work on and what it's good at and what doesn't do so well.
yeah, totally. And what I really like, and I think you kind of do the same thing, but like when you mentioned in Discord, what was it, Rap 8, right? Like Rap 8, and there's another one, was it Ring? But like it's the opposite, right? There's like Rap 8, it starts from the outside of the unit and with the ones, and then inside is zeros. But there's some that is sort of the opposite, where the inside has ones and the outside is zeros, and they're sort of mirror versions of it. It's I really like to start with that as a starting point. Like,
Hey, me too. I use both of
yeah,
them as the starter.
yeah, it's really a good starting point, and that applies to all checkpoints. Really, when we get more SD Excel checkpoints out there, it's going to be the same thing. They might have more layers in the unit. I'm not 100% sure, but the process is really the same. So whatever we learn here is applicable even with the latest tech. So Brixel, Brixel, when are we gonna getting it? I feel kind of dumb. My God, why? Well, I don't know. I don't know either. I just pretend to know. I learned that unit was called U because of the shape. I learned this like 24 hours ago, if it makes you feel any better.
I learned it less than an hour ago.
A unit has the shape U. This is what we should remember from today. So yeah, I guess I don't know. I feel inspired now. Maybe I'm gonna pump a new checkpoint out today.
I need to get an actual finalized atomic brixel going.
Yeah, I know. Actually, you noticed, right? The AI pub Loro is trained on that one.
Yep, yep.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll let you guys go to bed. I'll
What's the
probably do the same.
what's the next class?
Yeah, right? What's the next class? I don't know. Um, I'll probably have to figure out a better time too. It's just like I know people prefer Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, but you know, time wise, it's hard because I'm at literally the on the other side of the planet. So like you guys could be there today, but you're literally the only people there. And when I spoke to Hilo today, he was saying that I think it's 5 a.m. for him now or something like that. Uh, doing it at night for me is a bit hard. I don't know. I'll figure it out. I don't know what it's gonna be about though. Maybe training Laura's. That's something people are getting into lately. And the cool thing about that as well is that it applies to SD Excel as well. So yeah, probably gonna do that. I'm probably gonna take more than an hour to prepare myself as well. How much VRAM does Kiwi's GPU has? 6, was it?
Yeah, 6.
All right. All good. I thought you still sold some of it. I don't think it works that way.
Oh no no no! I was checking and seeing if the RAM that I had in like the actual RAM in there was
Oh,
something I can test out with, because when I was having that RAM issue, I was like, hey, I need to figure something out and see what's the actual problem. But I was like, DDR4.
nah. Right. All right. Well, thanks for coming, guys. It's a good experience for everybody, I guess. Cool experience with what's it called? Stages.
Yeah, this was really cool.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. Sometime next week, I'll figure something out.
Good dealio. And this whole thing was recorded too, so I'll go ahead and get that set up as well for Halo to go ahead and take a look at.
All right. What you gonna do? Like, I don't know how big it's gonna be. If you can compress it, I guess you could just dump that into the checkpoint merging thread in the tutorial channel.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. All right. Thanks, man. Thank you, Kiwi. I'll see you guys on the other side.